Okay, scatter plots is the topic. This will be your third video lesson in this topic. And what you're going to learn today is how to fit a straight line to your scatter plot to show how the association is linear. The line that we draw on the graph is called a line of best fit, or sometimes we call it a trend line. So guys, you already know that if there's a positive or negative association demonstrated between a lot of your points kind of lined up, we know it's a linear relationship, and that a straight line can be used to show the general pattern. Sometimes I would just take my pen to show where the line would be, where most of the points are going. What you're going to do today is actually draw that straight line, which is called our trend line or our line of best fit. But as you can see down here at the bottom, we have some graphs. Actually, it's all very similar graphs, but out of these, there's actually only one trend line that is actually drawn correctly. So looking at the choices, do you think the line should be drawn this way when most of the points are going uphill? Of course not. This is not a good trend line because it's going in the opposite direction that your points are when you compare your data. This one has a trend line that goes right down through the center between all your points. If I had my pen lining up all my points, I would basically cover up every point, and that means that yes, this is a good trend line. It's a straight line that goes close to the points of data in the scatter plot, and nobody's really left out. This one isn't too poorly of a drawn trend line, but the problem is the line is kind of on top, and you've got a whole bunch of points down here that are kind of left out. So the deal is you kind of want to contain everybody when you draw a trend line. So this one is really not a good trend line. It's not as good as it could be, like in this case. Now the last one is also not too bad. The line is going with the points. The points are definitely going uphill, and if I kind of showed my pen, it's pretty close to where the points are. But notice how a lot of points are left out up here. There's a whole bunch of points that aren't super close to the line, like in this example. So guys, out of all four on this set of notes, really this is the best one that has a trend line drawn. And these are examples of what not to do when you have to draw a trend line. Now, as a quick reminder about writing equations of trend lines, remember that there's two components. There's the slope that you have to find when you're working with a line, and there's the y-intercept. So remember, it's your y and your b. You're going to use the same format for writing the equation of a line like we did in our other units. So this should be familiar. Y equals mx plus b. And then I think the most challenging part of writing an equation for a scatter plot is not to be confused by so many different points that are up there, okay? Focus in on your line, okay? When you focus in on your line, you want to pick out points that are on your line. Like this point is almost perfectly on the line, and this point here would be a really good point to look at for a y-intercept. So again, even though you have a lot of other points all over the place, we're focusing on the trend line. And the values that we need to get are right on top of this trend line. So first I'm going to grab that y-intercept, which is an 8. And then I'm going to draw this little slope triangle to help me figure out my slope. So remember, use rise over run. This is rising down 1, and it's running over 3. So once you get those numbers, remember it's very simple to come up with your equation. So we'll do another example together. If you have a trend line drawn that goes right through the center of all your points, even though you might have a couple left out, we're still going to focus on the line itself. We're going to identify a good point here. And then it looks to me like there's no other scatter plot points actually on the line. But so what we do is we kind of focus on where does your line have really good intersections with the grid line. So there's one there. We could use this one, this one, this one. So to draw your slope triangle, you'd have to really look at the line itself and where it crosses the grid. So this is up 1 box, but looking at your scale, you could tell going up a box is really an increase of 50. And then moving over 2 boxes is just 2. So if I reduce my slope, I have a slope of 25. And again, my y-intercept was that first point, 100. So y equals 25, x plus 100 is my equation. So guys, this question down here at the bottom gave us some multiple choice options, and it says which of the following scatter plots could have this equation as our trend line. So make sure you remember which is which in a trend line. This is your slope, and this is your y-intercept. So guys, if I was to kind of sketch on here where I thought the trend line would be, I kind of have to get it lined up in the middle of the points. And sometimes your set of points is going to go downhill, remember? A negative association. Sometimes it'll go uphill. And here's another example where it kind of goes downhill. So you can always take a straight edge and you can kind of draw a trend line on top of the points to kind of get a general idea of where is it going. And then you can kind of compare. Guys, we have a slope that's positive 2. Which two choices can you eliminate just from knowing about what positive slopes are going to look like? That's right. You can get rid of choice A and choice D. Both choice A and choice D, A and D, have negative slopes. Remember, nice negative. So that's why we can't actually choose either of those. Now, how about the difference between B and C? They both look like they're headed uphill, which could very well be the slope of 2. So luckily we have another component to pay attention to. We have this plus 5, which is our y-intercept. Does this graph look like the y-intercept is at 5? I don't think so. This is the one that would possibly be the equation y equals 2x plus 5. So B does not have a y-intercept of 5. Choice C is my solution. So guys, you're going to go ahead and put this in your notebook. We are working on, I believe, page 109 and 110 for trend lines of scatter plots.